Just getting down with. Why you gotta? What? I was just gonna laugh at me while I'm making my happy dance.
Episode 42 of the Cine.
At some point, we really should release just a video episode of this so everybody can see the faces you make at my nonsense.
You mean just a 45-minute episode of you doing your happy dance?
No, it wouldn't be 45 minutes of that. There'd be other things.
It'd be 60. Oh, okay.
Like with you glaring at me for the stupid face I made.
You can impose one on the other. The run times are just the same.
Oh, okay.
We're back yet again with another episode of the Cinnamon. How have you been since we last spoke, sir?
I'm doing okay. Been feeling a little run down, a little overwhelmed. This time of year is old, but getting through, making preparations, making lists, checking them twice. I think that's what we're supposed to do this time of year. I don't know. I'm Jewish, but
yeah. You know what? That is what I hear. You make lists, you check them twice, and you find out what movies do and don't make the lists.
That's true. Which movies have been naughty or nice? And usually the naughty movies don't end up on anyone's list. They end up on
the Razzies. The one list you don't want to be on.
Oh, my joke was Pornhub, but yes, also you don't want to end up on that list. I don't know. Actually,
different film critics do those movies.
Didn't Halle Berry show up to receive her Razzie? Like, there's some people that show up and are like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah, that's one reason I will always love Halle. Is she had the good sense of humor about herself to actually show up and accept her Razzie, and I feel like Sandler might have as well. I can't remember, but I know for certain Halle has. Good for her. Good on her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally a fan of making worst of lists. I would rather, here's movies I loved, you should see, rather than being like, here's some shitty films. Like, every year there's going to be a film that doesn't connect with me or that I don't enjoy for whatever reason. But I don't need to come up with a list to be like, hey, if you forgot about this movie, now's the time to find out why you shouldn't see it. Like, there are better uses of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, personally, movies you've missed and should make a point to see, rather than be like, did you see Hubie Halloween? Good. You shouldn't. Actually, Hubie was fun. Hubie was exactly what I needed it to be.
Well, there you go.
Of course, it took me until the movie was over, credits rolling, for me to realize that the actor, I think it's Julie Bowen, who played his love interest in that, was his love interest in Happy Gilmore. Like, my brain just didn't put those two pieces of information together, because Hubie Halloween is just reference after reference after reference to the Sandler verse.
The Sandler verse.
Yeah. O'Doyle rules. That's really what you need to do.
You learn nothing else out of this episode. Instead of 20 years down the road, O'Doyle still rules.
They do. Sandler's going to be making some movie with his grandkids, and there's going to be an O'Doyle involved somehow.
Probably.
How about you? How are you doing?
Not too bad. Just coming off of a much-needed vacation before I start my 6 weeks of hell working. To take us through the rest of the year at the time of this recording. So, boy, am I looking forward to that.
Yeah, but then you get an extended and well-deserved 3-month break.
I do?
That's what you've been telling me. You've been like, January 1st comes, and I'm drunk until the first day of April.
I thought you meant from my job paying work. I was like, I got a vacation I don't know about. Yes, I take a much needed and much deserved 3-month break from all this and hell. Who knows if I'll ever come back.
Oh, no, I'm going to be on your ass starting April 1st. When are we recording? What are we doing, Daryl?
That's when you'll find out I've already done 10 episodes with Thomas Manning.
No! Freddie Highmore.
Who popped up in a movie I was watching the other day. I forgot what I was watching. I was like, I didn't know young Thomas Manning was in this episode of this movie. Whatever it was, I was
Bum
like,
knee. That's where I gotta hit him. I gotta hit him in his knee because that's
gotta
where
get him in the knees, man.
his movie information. Well, what have you been watching lately that you think he popped up?
I can't remember what the hell it. I don't know. So here's the thing. I finally have concluded the fact that I really do need to get with the Letterboxd program. Because in my 9 days off of work, I probably crammed in about 23 movies that I watched. I can remember maybe 6 of them.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I need to start keeping track of my business. So, yeah, it was one of those, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, you know what?
Rashomon?
No, it was...
He showed up in Rashomon?
It was Fareed Fried Scenes. He is Charlie Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes. Thomas is definitely Charlie Bucket.
Old Tommy Bucket over there.
Oh, God. We need to have him back.
Yes,
Thomas back.
We do. We need to get both of them back at some point soon. Things I've seen recently that I can remember and that I wrote down specifically for this podcast.
Right on.
I watched The Climb, directed by Michelangelo Covino. It's man, it's an interesting flick, to say the least. Man, if you want a boiled down to its essence definition of what a toxic relationship is, that's the movie that you want to check out.
Okay.
The ebb and flow of two friends, the relationship over the course of, if I had to guess it, about maybe a decade, 12 years, somewhere in there, and how they just kind of drift in and out of each other's lives and the interactions that they have while they drift in and out of each other's lives. It is very interesting to watch and to see how they interact and to see how a person who is by all reports a good stand-up man, how he handles the other half of this friendship, which is just a complete fuck up wretched of a human being, and the bad decisions that are made and the choices that they make. It's written by Michael, and I do believe Kyle Marvin. They wrote it. They are also the main actors. They play Mike and Kyle in the movie, and Michael is the one who directed it. And it's a fairly quick watch. Yeah, 95 minutes. You can get in and watch it and get out. Wonderfully directed. It is shot wonderfully. There's certain transitions between seasons that I'm like, that was artful as shit. That was well thought out. There's certain times where they just drop you into the middle of a scene. It's just very jarring. And there's sometimes they take you out of a scene before you get the full resolution of what's happened. And the next scene happens like 5 years later. And you're like, well, but what about this? So some of the choices that they make creatively are really interesting. But we'll talk about it a little bit later, but just one character shittiness is just almost too well done to the point where I was just so fucking annoyed. I was like, do I really just want to keep going with this movie? But you really, if you stick with it, man, it's good. It's real good. I would highly recommend The Climb. It just came out on VOD November 13th, I do believe. My review was up in all the usual places you can find Paprika stuff, so go ahead and check that out. And I also finally got around to checking out I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Ooh, I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, man. Charlie Kaufman. All up in that business. Jesse Plemons and Jesse Buckley are your two main leads in that, and I have no idea how in the world.
Coincidence?
The battle of the Jessies. Spelled differently, however. I don't.
Coincidence?
It is a woman who is fresh into this relationship, Jesse Buckley, fresh into this relationship with Jesse Plemons. Weeks, I think, like maybe 6, 7 at this point, going to meet his parents for the first time. That they've invited him over for dinner, and she's already, like the title is, thinking of ending things. Although double-edged coin, because that definitely also has a connotation of suicide as well, and they do play off those factors. And then the how things progress once they get to the parents' place. that's when it goes very Kaufman-esque, I guess is the best way of putting it. This is not your typical dinner scene, let's say. Things constantly change, things shift, small details here and there that just really mess with your head. It's one of those, we're gonna be weird for the purposes of being weird. And from what I understand, the book is also very weird, and Kaufman just kind of pushed that weird to 11, which normally I'm okay with, but still give me some kind of explanation at the end, and the movie doesn't do that. And from what I've read, the book does a better job of kind of giving you the clues you need to figure out what's going on, and I think that's where I'm thinking of ending things. The movie lacks.
Okay.
Like, you're just like, oh, what the fuck is happening? And then it's end credits. And then you're just left with the end credits like, well, what the fuck did I just see? All of this stuff was just laid out in front of me. And none of it made sense. And I have no map, no legend, no skeleton key to get me to help these things make sense. That being said, it's still a fascinating watch, if for no other reason than Jessie Buckley's performance in this. Like, she anchors this movie and holds it all the way down. I just got done rewatching Tom Hardy's show Taboo on Netflix, in which she is she comes in about halfway or so, one of the main characters of that. So it was just more Jessie Buckley for me. And she's really, really good in this movie. But
I liked her in Misbehavior. And briefly in Doolittle was amusing. Wild Rose. That came out last year, I believe.
Right. And I think that was like her real big break was Wild Rose. And then
It's certainly when she hit my radar, and I think it's because the music that she was singing.
Yeah. But if you're a person who likes like a nice closed loop of a movie and things explained for you, I don't think this is going to be the one for you. If you're a person who is okay with getting into that abstract gray area territory, and you're okay not knowing everything that happened in the minutia and having everything explained to you, that might be something worth checking out.
It's Charlie.
I plan on
Kaufman,
rewatching.
So it's gonna be one. Don't go in that expecting something straight.
No,
not at all.
Not at all. But
those are the two. Anomalisa, by any chance?
No, I haven't.
Ooh, recommend that one. Okay. Highly recommend that one. It's entirely stop motion.
All right.
It's an adult film, so believe rated R. There is, in fact, I will just give you a warning in case you might need it. There is puppet sex, but not like Team America World Police puppet sex, like actual tender, sweet.
Yeah, like there's tenderness moments with characters that just happen to be portrayed as puppets. What? Say it again.
They are puppets.
Yeah.
The whole movie.
Okay. Right on. I'm here for
it. But I highly recommend Anomalisa. Highly recommend that. Very cool.
What about you, sir? What now?
I didn't know if you'd seen anything else, or if that was just the two that you, out of the 20.
And I also can't remember what I talked about the last time. It was just me and you as well. Did I talk about Uncorked? I don't think I did.
No, you didn't. What is Uncorked?
It's Netflix.
Is that a TV show or a movie?
It's a movie.
Oh, really?
A Netflix movie about a guy whose dad owns and runs a smokehouse in Memphis, who inherited from his dad. This has been passed down. The one owning it now, played by Courtney B. Vance, planning to hand it off to his son, and that's not what he wants. His goal in life is to become a sommelier, a master sommelier.
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah. Okay. So he's trying to get all up in this wine business, and there's not really an antagonist. Obviously, the tension comes in of this dad, like, I took this from my dad. This is something I've been trying to groom him for, and he's just not interested in it. Which I can connect to, because my dad used to drag me along to all these job projects, and I'm like, I hope this motherfucker doesn't think I'm taking this shit over, because I'm not, which he was thankfully 100% okay with. I was just cheap labor. It's
I know that role.
Yeah,
I've done that.
It's a good story, man. It's a dramedy, if that's what you want to call it. I believe it's Niecy Nash in there as his mom, and she's got a whole through line as well. It's just it's one of those dramedies, like the dramedies that I've noticed. They put all the comedy up front, They
Mhm.
front load it, and then when things get serious, it's just all drama. And then all the comedy is just left in the first act. Things are still peppered in incredibly funny throughout this man's journey
Right.
of climbing this hurdle and having to do this and having to figure out ways around his obligations to his family in order to achieve his own goals. And if you're about a story about a dude who just wants to accomplish a life goal that he has, man, and the journey he takes in order to get there, it's very well done, very well shot. You'll learn a little something about wine if you're a wine person, or if you're thinking about getting into wine. And the bastards did all the smokehouse scenes in slow motion. So
Oh,
it's
so
just,
it's like Chef, where you end up real hungry.
yeah, ribs getting cut into in slow motion and pulled pork being just pulled apart by hand in slow motion. Oh, they're dicks about it. Uh, but
And how about
Uncorked
cornbread?
really, really surprised me with how good it was. It's on Netflix, man. It's on Netflix. I'm, I think I'm fairly confident saying that it will be somewhere in my top 10 of the year.
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
then now I need to make a point to see it.
Yeah, go ahead and check that out if you get some time, sir. I really dug that movie.
This time of year is particularly tricky because as you are starting to discover, I hope that award season is beginning for the NCFCA, and there's some stuff going on with the CCAs that I can't get into at the moment. And I'm swamped. The documentary awards, we just finished voting for that. I don't even know. I can't remember if they've announced them yet. I have no free time between that and getting my students prepped for persuasive speeches. But I got a great tip from one of my bosses, and I removed the last speech for an automated quiz. So I'm going to have a little bit of
Hey,
free time.
there
Going to have a
you
little
go.
bit of free time.
That is specifically why I took a week off of work. It was specifically to watch movies to start narrowing down my list for award season.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we can't do it again this year. I had so much fun with you last year, but that's why I do that one day where I try to get, if I can, 4 to 5 movies in, and that's usually when I try to do the longer ones. Um, but yeah, I said this in our last show. I am hoping to rewatch Parasite. Hopefully, by the time this airs, I will have. But I am hoping to check that out because I picked up the Criterion edition, and I also have the 4K version. So I just don't know if I want to show Crystal the black and white, which would be her first experience, my second, or show her the color version, which I don't know. I don't know. Have you checked it out yet on Criterion?
No, mine, I think it's here like maybe Thursday or something like
Oh,
that. I'm of the opinion of watching it how it was originally presented first. Like now I'm okay to go back and watch Mad Max Fury Road in black and chrome, and to watch Logan in black and white, and to watch Parasite in black and white. But I think to appreciate the black and white, watch it in color first.
that is fair. Okay.
Yeah. But what about you, man? What have you seen?
Well, there are 3 films that I'm going to mention. One we've talked about before, but I think it's at least worth spending a couple minutes to talk about. Is the of the Last Starfighter.
Hmm.
I in the last episode, I was talking about it at the end when Nicole was on here. And if you haven't checked out that episode, please go back and take a listen. It was such incredible fun having Nicole on here. So please go do that. But with the Last Starfighter, this is a film that came out in '84, and so it's almost 30 years. Wait, hold on, almost 40 years. Excuse me. Since
Yes,
this film
Doug.
came out.
Almost 40.
My math doesn't work. I'm almost 40, and my math doesn't work
Yes.
ever. But this is a film that I really enjoyed as a kid, and I haven't watched it in a couple of years since at least we moved to where we are now. And so the first time I put it on in that time was when I went to do the home review, and it is amazing. It holds up. It absolutely holds up. It doesn't have any kind of dated language that makes you a little uneasy or uncomfortable in the way that Bill and Ted, both 1 and 2, use a derogatory homophobic slur in those films that kind of makes you go, because you feel the period in which they were released. Whereas Last Starfighter totally and completely feels timeless in the way that it is a story that just captures the imagination. Now, the special effects are incredibly dated.
Mm.
They are original CG, first time computer type of stuff, but it is told so well, and the restoration is really wonderful visually and auditorily. It's you got three options: 2.1, 5.1, or you can do 4.1, which was the audio setup for the 70 millimeter tour that the film went on.
Oh,
You can
okay.
watch it in a home release setup or as it got the theatrical release. It's got about an hour's worth of bonus features that are new and includes all the archival stuff. So if you were ever into The Last Starfighter, you want to pick this up. And depending on when this episode airs, Arrow is part of the 50% off sale going on at Barnes and Noble. So you could get The Last Starfighter for $20 plus
Ooh.
tax. And that sale ends on the 30th of November. Another film that I saw recently that is in limited release as of the 20th of November and is available on Amazon through Prime Video on the 4th of December is Sound of Metal.
Riz
Have you
Ahmed?
heard about this?
That the Riz Ahmed joint?
It is
No, I haven't.
really good.
Yeah.
What Riz does, what he has to communicate and do simultaneously takes so much focus and skill to make it look easy. He plays a drummer in it's sort of industrial rock, heavy metal type band. And he's the drummer. His girlfriend's the singer. He loses his hearing. And he goes to a home that's both part of the deaf community, but also a place for rehab for addicts. He is 4 years sober, and he is encouraged to go to this place because, one, this type of incident might compel him to take up old habits, but also he needs to learn how to join this new community. So it's a film about identity. And he's playing the drums in one sequence while having to communicate to the audience how disconnected he's becoming from the noises around him.
Mm.
So having to be as aware of yourself physically to play the drums, while also to be aware of yourself physically and how you're emoting, it's just incredible. And he does this for the whole film, not always with playing the drums, but having to just communicate in this way. Olivia Cooke plays his girlfriend. She is wonderful, though she's not as in it as long as he is, but her impact on the story is felt throughout. Darius Marder both directed this and I believe wrote it. It is an incredible film that if you get the opportunity to see, it is not one that is going to fill you with joy necessarily, but it won't break you. But it is a drama that is so worth watching if only for Riz's performance. It is one of the best I've seen this year.
Boom. There you go. I saw Riz got nominated in the Gotham Awards. And I pulled up the other nominations, and I was like, "Oh boy, it looks a whole lot different what I plan on nominating things for." But yeah, it's also been a good resource because that's the Gotham's is why I finally decided to sit down and watch. I'm thinking of ending things because Double the Jessies were both nominated, so I was like, let me check that out. And I saw Riz on there for that, and I was like, maybe I do need to check this bad boy out. So I will add it to the list.
I would definitely recommend that. Definitely recommend that for both you and anyone listening, whether you're a fan of, if you've ever been a percussionist like myself, like Crystal, or if you just love a really well constructed, technically and performance wise strong film. The way in which Martyr makes you feel like you're in Riz's head, the psychological effect of what's going on with his health is really impressive. How he communicates this. So I highly recommend that. Another film that I saw, this one came out of left field for me. It's and I hope I get this right. Riyad Barmania. It is the director for this. It's a film called Ashens and the Polybius Heist.
Hmm.
Now, apparently, the lead actor on this, Stuart Ashen, who also co-wrote the film along with Riyadh, this is the second film that Stewart has done. The other one is Ashens and the Quest for the Game Child. Apparently, he's some sort of YouTube performer or YouTube creator that has made these projects. And so there seems to be a bit of a base for it. I'm hearing of this character, these or these individuals,
Hmm.
but it's literally a film about stealing the Polybius game, which I'd never even heard of until this movie, but apparently is this big thing in gaming lore. I just thought they were making up a game, but there's apparently this game that supposedly will totally fuck with you psychologically.
Hmm.
And that only a handful of people have ever played it, et cetera, et cetera. There was a recent article, I think, in Polygon about it. I got about a quarter of the way through and need to go finish reading it before I write this review for Ashens. But Ashens comes available digitally, I believe, on the 19th of November. If you like something in the vein of Spaced, and I never finished it, I've only seen a little bit of it. Like something in that vein of comedy, this is an hour and 90-minute respite. It's just silliness. It's fun. You don't have any weight to it necessarily. It is exactly what it is. It's got the kind of jokes where they're planning a heist to steal the game, and well, just so that they can say it's Ashen's 11.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. And then what do they do with those two people that they bring in buckets and say, "All right, go fundraise for our heist." They literally go out with two buckets that say heist fund and are like, "You want to donate to our heist?" People are like, "I love a good heist. Here."
That's exactly what I would do.
Exactly. So it's that kind of silliness, strangeness, what have you, and it's just light and playful. So I would recommend it if you want something exactly that, just something sort of light to put on and enjoy.
Boom.
Nothing you got to dwell on. So those are three that I would certainly recommend at least tracking down in a variety of things.
I like it. You ready to get into our main bit of business here, sir?
I am. I am. I thought this would be fun. The reason why I recommended this, if you listen to episode 41, we talked about the live action adaptations Disney has put together. So I thought it would be fun to just talk about animated films in general
Mm-hmm.
and to get into films that we have enjoyed in the subgenre, if you will. I think it's really strange to call animation a genre. It gets its own category, certainly, but animation isn't a genre. It is just a medium.
Yes. Yeah, definitely not a genre. It's just a means to tell the story.
Exactly. So even though in the spreadsheet that I have of all the movies I own, I have them listed as animation, that's just so if I ever need to find one of my kids' movies, it's an easy sort.
Quick identification.
Exactly. But I would never call um, Over the Hedge, for example. I wouldn't go, oh, it's an animated movie. I'd go, it's a kids' comedy.
Right.
It's a comic book adaptation. If I were talking about Sausage Party,
A kids movie.
yeah. Although Connor saw it when he was only a few months old. Good parenting. He didn't know what was happening,
No.
but neither did we at the time. But I would say that it's a action comedy drama that explores religion, faith, and cultural divide.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah. So
It's a
I
good
thought
way
it
to
would be fun
bullshit it up.
What was that?
That's a good way to bullshit it up.
Okay, it does all of those things.
It does.
It does all of those things. Whether or not you think it's any good, that's a completely different conversation.
Hmm.
So, what is of your three? What's the first one that came to mind in terms of either films that have touched you? This safe space, you could talk about that. Films that have that He's shaking his head at me. I know it was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. I can do better than that. You deserve better than that. I'm sorry. But films that
The first one came on mind as my last one. I will start off though. I briefly mentioned it on last episode. Nicole, Coco, man. Um, I do believe Coco, directed by Lee Unrich, if I remember correctly, remains probably still my favorite movie going experience with my daughter. As it talks about it really brings the Mexican culture to the forefront. And while my daughter is not Mexican, she's Puerto Rican, she was still happy to see the Hispanic nature on the screen, and she understands the language that they're speaking when they're speaking Spanish. Like she's like, I know what they're saying here. So she was able to identify with it. For me, it is it's just a great journey that this kid goes on. A little bit of self-discovery, a little bit of finding out about his family and finding out, more about his father and this legend that they knew of. And a great theme of that movie is maybe some of the people that you build up to be these icons aren't who they're cracked up to be. Don't idolize celebrities is the one word sentence of Coco. I think is a good way to put that out there. Visually, and I will go on record as saying this, Pixar will never top itself as far as Coco was concerned. I think
disagree.
Coco. What do you think is their best animated movie visually?
Can't talk about it.
Moving on. If you think it's
It's under embargo.
Okay. Yeah. Coco is just, man, I could just put that movie on mute and enjoy it. And also, as far as this, I can't really call it the new era of how, I mean, they've been doing this now for since '95 with Toy Story. But since they've transitioned from hand-drawn animation to doing things on the computer, they've still kept that theme of original songs. I think Remember Me is also the top of the crop to come out of that. And just the fact that they've take that one simple song and flip it different various ways depending on what the tone of that scene is. There's a happy party upbeat version of Remember Me. There's a very sorrowful, somber, downtrodden version of Remember Me. A couple different variations there in between. I love this movie. We'll watch this movie a million times again before I die. So first one on the list, Coco.
Right on. My first one, I'm actually doing these. The order may surprise you, but my first one is going to be Spider-Verse. This film it came out in 2018. I think you went with me to see it for the first time. Going a couple weeks later for my birthday. I was so moved by it. I am still to this day. Connor loves that movie, so we've seen it quite a bit. Still finding things, still seeing the little details that they added to create this world that makes it as real as the world that we're in, the way that we have things around us that reference back to other things that mean something in our lives that happens here. But most importantly, for me anyway, there's a lot of representation beyond the regular cis white guy hero, and seeing Miles Morales was so fucking great. I loved that when they are speaking Spanish, we get no subtitles because they're just talking. We have a general sense about what they're saying. If you don't speak the language, we know it from the way that they communicate it. But the fact there's no subtitles, it's not about what they say. It's about how they're saying it. And the fact that my son, he's got two sets of Spider-Man pajamas, Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales. And that's what he asked for. I want to dress like Miles, or I want to dress like Peter B. Parker. And we would do so well to be encouraging more of that. This is why representation matters. It's not so, my son can have more heroes. It's not about that, but it's the fact that he can look at them and see heroes. And that kids that are of any kind of background, but particularly of a mixed background like Miles, can look up at you were just talking about your daughter. It's the same idea. And I love
Literally,
that.
Miles is black and Puerto Rican. That's what my daughter is.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that, and we need more of it. And particularly these days, that message of anyone can wear the mask. We need heroes. Anyone can wear the mask. And in this instance, we're given the wonderful Miles Morales. And I am jealous that you, sir, will at some point be playing the video game because, man, it just looks so amazing. I will never have a PlayStation.
It's gonna be
and it
Thwip
looks so
City in
good.
here, man. It's gonna be Thwip City in this business. It's interesting.
Someone has made the "What's Up Danger" sequence using the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That does
That is
not surprise
amazing.
me
I love it.
at all. I like that you mentioned Spider-Verse because it's my number 2. It just hits you in the right way. This is you. Did you go to the Venom screening or no?
No,
Okay.
couldn't make it to that one. That came out in October.
Yep.
And October for me is usually crazy because I'm doing just horrible grading for 6 weeks.
Everybody came out of the Venom screening talking about the Spider-Verse scene that we got. And that's what let me know Venom's not all that great. And people are going to lose their shit over Spider-Verse. It props to Hulk for trying to bring the comic book look to life.
Mm-hmm.
But Spider-Verse is miles down the road of what that is. With the dots, with the aesthetics of it, the frame rates not matching up until they're in sync with the thwipping. Bringing in Gwen, man, Gwen is like one of Marvel's over the last decade or so, like new hotnesses. Like, oh, this is something new, this is something fresh, and they're like, get her in there. So it's something for the all the other young people. If you like, a lot of people focus on Miles because he is the focus, but there's also Gwen out there, and I loved Gwen's costume, by the way. That they kept that very comic book accurate, and I loved it. And also, since it's focused on Miles, it's not really talked about that much, but just the journey of Peter B. Parker as well. He also has his own little stuff happening there in the background. Still don't like that Kingpin, but other than that, besides the guy that like Crystal saw at the airport or whatever,
she to bring that up. She was too slow to get the photo.
It is a message of hope for the youth. It is a fresh injection into the superhero genre that will prevent it from going stale and dying out. You need new, different things in order to keep this genre fresh and interesting. I think that's why the Western kind of died out, is because you just kept getting the same story over and over again. And I think superheroes are trying to make sure that they eschew that by doing superhero stories in these different veins. I think Marvel started that, and others have seen it that's successful, and they've picked up on that. That's why you get something like a Spider-Verse. You got to take a risk every once in a while, which is something Hollywood hates doing. Every once in a while, you gamble, you come up big. God. And they came up huge with Spider-Verse. And it kills me to my soul that we don't get part 2 until 2022. But by the time Spider-Verse 2 comes out, Miles is going to sound like I sound now. Graduating high school.
I watched Cutthroat City, which has Shamar Moore in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I even wrote this in my review. It was really hard to take him, good actor, but it was hard for me to really invest in him in this role because I was like, man, Miles is really going some dark places right now.
The trappings of success.
But with what you said about Hollywood not wanting to take chances, it is the worst thing in the world how true that is. David Fincher recently did a couple of interviews, and I haven't read through them, but there was a quote of his that I loved for its accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 seasons now.
Fincher's been dropping
Spandex
hot takes.
season and Affliction winter. Spandex summer, Affliction winter. And that is so accurate for how we get blockbusters in the summer and we get award season films, if you will, in the fall, winter. And then the way that most people look at January to mid late April is this is the stuff that wouldn't survive any other time of year. The truth of his statement. Because, I mean, there's so many good movies that come out, but the way that the big machine looks at it, there's 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And we need smaller movies. We need stuff to succeed. We need variation. So I agree with you completely.
And the sad part about it is Hollywood not taking risks. They're not the bad guy, because I completely understand their side too, has hundreds of millions and jobs are on the line here.
Yeah.
You want to fall back on what you know is going to make a profit and keep you your job. It's a weird it's like a weird Ouroboros of a snake eating its own tail. Of you do what's going to work, but we'll give them one experimental joint, see how it goes.
Well, and that's what was so great about with Fox is they not only had 20th Century Fox, but they had Searchlight, and they had other avenues with which to release, so that they could do Free Guy, for example, but then they could also do Jojo Rabbit. You know, they could release The Call of the Wild, and then they could do what was that Terrence Malick movie? I can't think of the name all of a sudden. Came out last year.
Came out. I thought it's come out with something this year. Oh, he might come out with something last year too. I'm not sure.
I can't think. It was also a World War II movie. Speaking of Jojo Rabbit, but I can't think of the name of it.
Speaking of Thin Red Line,
but no, it's gonna drive me nuts. I'll look it up. But it's just that idea of there was that, but now you've got Disney, which owns a lot of different studios, but they're all sort of delivering the same type of stuff. We're not getting that experimentation, and they're kind of kicking those to the side. So it's strange. We're going to be looking to hope that Focus Features, that Neon, A24 can pick up some of that slack to give us those experimental films. Whether they succeed or not, at least they're trying. Like, right. I want to see Green Knight. I don't know anything about it. I want to see Green Knight.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm sorry. I know that's a sore spot.
I'm not watching any A24 movies until I get not even Green Knight, just a press release about what you're doing with the movie. That's all I want. How hard is it to say, hey, we know things are a little bit crazy right now. We're just trying to find the best place to release this movie so it's profitable for us and enjoyable for you. If they came out with that simple statement, we're just trying to figure it out, I'd be like, okay. They're trying to figure it out. We got a trailer, and they say, here's a shitty board game, and then nothing.
And my feeling is they figure the silence is telling you they're still trying to work it out.
Oh, God. I usually am the one arguing against the straight to VOD release, but that's what I'm like, just fucking put it out, damn it. I want to see this movie so bad. It wasn't even on my radar until the trailer dropped, and I was like, remember that episode we did with Noel and Thomas back right when we got back from LA of our anticipated joints? Man, had I seen a trailer by that point, that would have been on that list. Anyways, what is that's my number 2. So what's your number 2?
My number 2. It originally, if I pronounce this right, was Kimi no Nawa, also known as Your Name. This is a film that directed and written by Makoto Shinkai. This is a film that I'd been hearing about throughout 2016, finally watched in 2017 when it came available in the States. And I thought I knew what I was in for, and then when it reveals its true nature, I was not prepared for it. And I ended up absolutely devastated. I've seen some films that look like they're trying to emulate Studio Ghibli. I've seen some films that are their own sort of animation style. This Your Name is so incredibly unique, different from Spider-Verse and how authentic it is to the source material. This Your Name feels like a film that could only be made through animation, and is so beautiful and so moving and only works, again, because it's animated. they're in talks to do a live action American version,
Oh no.
which
Oh
depresses me
no.
greatly because culturally this is very much a Japanese story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little nervous about that. But this film, it's just what, and it's as we said, it's a medium. It's not a genre. It's got comedy, drama. It's got other elements that I don't want to specify, potentially allude to other aspects if you're not familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up being the prelude to Weathering with You, and that they share a universe.
What?
And
Hot tip,
while
don't try to email a studio and ask for it. You sound like an idiot.
oh no! If you're looking for Weathering with You, I know who to talk to. But I didn't enjoy Weathering with You the way that I enjoyed Your Name, and that's because Your Name is so good, nothing could top it.
All right, right on.
Nothing, even tangential, even to be like, it's just in the same city during the same period. Don't out of here. Your Name, the best. You just fine. And I know you love Weathering with You. I know you do.
Oh
I have a
yes.
problem with the ending.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now that I realize Weathering You is not in contention for our awards, I am now back to 0 movies for that particular category.
No, if you're looking for animated movies,
You gave me a couple the other day, and I still got them written down to tackle on.
coming to in December, if you don't get the chance sooner, Wolfwalkers.
Wolfwalker. Yeah, I'm passed up on this to get a copy of that before you told me to check it out, and I was like, oh no.
It's coming back around.
Coming back
It's
around.
Cool. It's
Time
cool.
keeps on slipping. All right. Yeah. Good call. Good call. I will check that out at some point and get me a little double feature on Weathering with You if I can one of these days.
Right on. What's your number one?
My number one.
Weathering with You.
No, it is not. Although, no, I couldn't take Coco off that list. My number one is something that you apparently have milk toast at best feelings about. The movie that defined an entire style of animation, that defined a decade. That is a pinnacle, not just of animated movies, but of science fiction itself. A movie that anybody that's like, nah, I would have them thrown in straitjackets immediately and give them the Clockwork Orange treatment of the eyeballs right open. Akira, the first thing that popped into my mind as soon as you mentioned this, and I was like, well, obviously Akira is going to be number one because that movie is just raw from beginning to end. It's appropriate amounts of, an homage to Blade Runner. And as much as I've said, I am not a fan of the story. I love the world of Blade Runner that was crafted, just not the story they told in that world until 2049 came around. But it's obviously very heavily influenced by Blade Runner. It's got the noir look to it. There's a good joint for Noirvember for those of you participating and whoever made up that nonsense.
Well, they didn't want to take play. They didn't want to conflict with, or they wanted to compete with No Nut November with the shaving of the beard to raise money for prostate cancer. Movember. There we go.
Yeah. I've been thoroughly enjoying Noirvember because I've been watching a couple TV shows, read a couple noir comics. Anyways, but Akira it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's confusing. The story, you get it teases out what Akira is, what's going on, who you think is your hero is not your hero. Guy at the beginning, you're like, oh, that guy's kind of a fucking asshole. Ends up putting in all the work. Visually, it looks great. I'm so glad I picked this up on Blu-ray when I did. It is just, like I said, it is a defining piece of science fiction to me. It is in all ways wonderful. Wonderful.
You'll be delighted to know it's getting a 4K release from Funimation in December.
Yeah, that's one that I might break my rules for and go ahead and pick that up on 4K. I've only broken my Blu-ray and 4K rules a total of like 3 times ever. But that's one I might have to break the rules for.
I'm curious about it. I've seen some good restorations. I've seen some bad restorations. 300 was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, the artifacting that happens as a result of the treatment that they gave to the film, the digitization process to give the film that aura,
Yeah.
it amplifies that artifacting, the visual noise in the picture throughout when upgraded to 4K. Whereas Beetlejuice is gorgeous. Full Metal Jacket looked like a whole new movie. It really
I
did.
I was debating one of the ones that I broke my rule for was Saving Private Ryan. And I was like, Saving Private Ryan on 4K. I don't know. My buddy was like, I've had it just wrapped up for ages now. Let me unwrap it. I'll throw it in. I'll let you know what it's talking about. He's like, I'll put on the D-Day scene and then I'll get back to you. Didn't hear from him until the end of the movie. He's like, it is so totally worth it on 4K. He said the sound was just so much more crisper and clear. So I'm really looking forward to that. But anyways, yeah, Akira I don't watch a lot of anime, but for me and for a good number of people, like that and Ghost in the Shell are like grandma and grandpa of movie-wise of anime.
Well, my number one, we'll talk about Akira if time permits in a moment. I have questions.
Time will permit, sir.
If time permits. My number one skirts the line.
Cool World is a possibility, yes.
Okay, then if you say that, then my number one works perfectly.
Is it Roger Rabbit?
To me, the only Robert Zemeckis movie that matters. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I mean, it's a good movie. I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but to say it's the only Zemeckis movie that matters.
My appreciation, my style of humor, my appreciation for storytelling. It's not exactly noir because it has optimism and hope thanks to Roger.
Yeah.
Not so much with everyone else, though. I mean, Eddie Valiant is a drunk. He's every detective trope, gumshoe novel, dime store novel.
Every Dashiell Hammond character.
Yeah. And I saw this movie in theaters so many times. I think I've talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit on a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it so many times in theaters. I bought it when it first hit Blu-ray. DVD. I had a watch party in my dorm room. Crystal and I were friends then, so she came and joined us. I've seen this movie so many times, I cannot wait to show it to Connor. Just the level of storytelling that works for both kids and adults. It balances the humor with the terror. One of these days, he's got to understand, do you want to end up like your cousins, the hyenas? At some point, he has to understand that reference.
All right.
And it's usually because I'm laughing like an idiot and not him. But then I say it and he doesn't understand and whatever. But for me, when it comes to animation, it changed the rules about how we could do live action stuff. But it also showed us that live action didn't always have to be so straight and serious. And certainly long before Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and many of them I'm sure did it better. But when we're talking about animation and how to do stuff, it's about what makes the most authentic sense. Spider-Verse does this. To your interpretation, Coco does this. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, to me, does this. So that's why it's my number one.
All right. I can get down with that.
Akira, on the other hand.
I mean, I'm still stuck on the only Zemeckis movie that matters. That's blowing my mind right now.
If Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out in 4K, I would buy it immediately. I'm waiting on Back to the Future. And I really enjoy Back to the Future. But Zemeckis has not, to me, delivered anything recently that's been, oh man, The Witches. Come on.
Oh boy, I tell you.
So let's change the subject.
What? Say it again.
I need you to yell at me.
Yeah. What do you want to say about Akira? Yeah, yes. Let's get. You know what? But before you do,
okay,
let's talk about your challenge for me.
Okay, sure.
You know what? Let's just get them both out of the way. I was not a fan of Mirai
Totally
at
fine.
all. That I alluded to earlier about there's just characters that are just so annoying and so much shits that you just the climb I was talking about. I do
Mhm.
believe that's what it was. And yeah, that main character just took both myself and Leslie out. We made it about halfway through and we were both like, I can't fucking stand this kid. Like the thing about it is he acts much like uh kids react when the new baby comes through.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they just did it a little too well. The kid was just he was too much like a little shit. And then you get to it's about the a young family comes together, man and woman. They have their first baby. Well, if they get a dog, they have their first baby, and then that second baby comes along. By this point, the kids, I would put them at about 6, maybe ish, roundabout in there.
Yeah.
And he is not happy with the new house guest in there. That's getting
I
all
love how you
the.
put that. House guest.
I feel like from his point of view, that's a way you could describe
Yeah.
that Mirai is getting all the love and the attention, and then things kind of take the more fantastical element from there. He meets an older version of her, all this kind of stuff. He gets to talk to the family dog, whose dog's like, I'm in your situation. They were giving me all the love, then you were born, and I don't get any of the love anymore.
Mm-hmm.
At the part where he has to go back and he meets his mom around about his age, and I'm like, okay, well, he can kind of see how his mom was back in the day, and maybe he'll glean a little bit of learning, understanding, and appreciation for his mother until you find out that his mom was a shit too. And I was like, you know
Kids
what?
are like that.
Kids are like that. Fuck this whole family was what we is the generalization that we ended on, man. It just we couldn't get through it. And to cleanse our palate, we turned that off and we put in Akira. What are your thoughts on Akira, sir? What did work for you first, if anything?
Does character design? Though I found it interesting. I saw I don't know who I meant to look this up before we recorded. The run of The Authority that I want to say was maybe of The Authority shared a very similar visual style to these characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was Warren Ellis, and I forget who he worked with.
We worked with
I've got
Brian
him on
Hitch,
my shelf.
Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch.
And that's who did the second arc?
Yep.
Okay. Because it's about that arc where the characters sort of get a little beefier and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
There was a similar style with this. I really liked the depiction of the world. It kind of freaked me out that the event happened in 88. At the start of the movie, there's a big explosion, takes out Tokyo. And X number of I can't math. And they're building, it's Neo Tokyo. There's a bunch of biker gangs led by Canada. Canada. Spelled with a K, extra E. And he's going around with his buddies and beating the shit out of another gang because that's apparently what they do. And apparently in 2019, Tokyo is building a stadium to prepare for the Olympics, which just so happened in real world 2020 was supposed to be the Tokyo Olympics. So there was some real world lineup where I was going, this is just fucked up. But no, there were certain elements that I really liked about it. I could see where the influences of later stories had come from. My problem was not that people you think were villains were not actually villains. I didn't understand the connections they were trying to set up.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that aren't familiar with Akira, the basic premise is that there's this kid who gets into an accident. He's taken for... he's medevaced out by the government because of the people they were involved with. The government was looking for someone. And the kid apparently has activated through the accident psychic abilities that are incredibly powerful. And it turns this kid, it sort of takes these issues that he already had, and as the weak kid who suddenly gets powers becomes a psychotic bully.
Mhm.
Easiest way to put it. And so it's his friend trying to find him, and then upon realizing he has these abilities, try and stop him. So here's the problem that I have. Beginning of the movie, there's this, we'll call him a kid. He's one of the babies, is how they're referred to in the movie, who is being, who's running from the government, the colonel, who we think is our bad guy. And the baby is being led away, and he's supposed to connect with Ryu. Why? I'm asking you, why?
Why are they escaping out? Is that what you're saying? That's what you're
Why
asking?
was that kid trying to get to Ryu?
I think it's less trying to get to Rio, more trying to get away from the government, and Rio was just a safe haven.
So what were they doing to get him away from the government?
That dude broke him out, the one that they shot all the shit.
Yeah, why?
To get away from the government.
Why?
Because the way I look at it is, like you said, the major is, you think is our bad guy. Yes, he is a bad guy. There are no good guys in here. The military exploited the shit out of these kids and experimented on them all over the place. And I assume that kid was like, fuck this. I'm ready to be done with this bullshit. I'm out.
Well, see, and that's the thing is we don't actually see that. We get referenced it when you see the school that Canada and Tetsu were in. And forgive me because starting in January, I started watching My Hero Academia, so I can't just say Tetsu. It's Tetsu,
Okay.
who is a character in My Hero Academia. You meet him in season 2. His quirk ability is to make his skin metal, and Tetsu translates to Iron Man. So he's Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man.
Okay, then.
But the way that they say his name in the show, Tetsu, 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 Tetsu. So anyway, so Crystal and I were having a giggle about that. But back on point, you find out that, yes, the school that the two kids were going to was not only a home for orphans, but a place where they were doing tests, not necessarily experiments. They were trying to understand. We don't get any sense that the government was trying to control them or do anything. We do find out that the government was realizing if we can't help them harness this power, we need to get rid of them, which to a degree is also that sort of ends justify the means type of thing. To save the many, we have to get rid of the few.
Yep.
Which, as you learn about Akira, makes sense. But we never understand why the babies are trying to get away, because later on, the babies are helping the colonel.
Mm-hmm.
Which suggests that the babies never had a problem with the colonel, and the colonel always treated them with respect. So, why was he trying to escape?
I am always going to be of the fact that they are escaping the testing and all the wild shit that the government, or maybe not the government, but definitely the weird-haired scientist put them throughout.
Except it's an assumption that they put them through anything because we don't know. We only see one thing when they look normal. We don't know what caused them to change their color, or if it's just an aspect of their powers, or if it's a result of the explosion from Akira. We don't know any of that stuff. So as far as why they're out there and Tetsu gets into the accident is because they needed Tetsu to get into the accident in order for him to be medevaced.
Okay.
And it's like, why is that the reason? I know that we need an inciting incident, but there needs to be a reason for him to be there. Unless he's a fucking squirrel that just so happens to run by and cause Tetsu to fall over on his bike, okay, fine. But he's not there. There's a thing with insurgents. There's a thing with the military and the executive committee that isn't fully explained. We're just supposed to go with it, which I have no problem with, because as we go forward, we are given more information, except the connection between these kids and the colonel and why they were escaping is never explained in a way that is satisfying. In addition to the fact that Canada is such a fucking creep asshole
Oh yeah, he's terrible.
that why would the girl that he's hitting on the entire goddamn time want anything to do with him and care about him other than they went through some shit together? And also, why doesn't he pop like a balloon when the other girl pops like a balloon when Tetsu loses control? I have questions that only seem to be answered by because that's what the story needed. And so I don't know if I need to watch it again, which I might. I've done that before with a movie that didn't connect with me before. But it was very different than I expected, and there was stuff that didn't make sense that I wanted to, and the fact that I didn't like anything that Canada was doing, and Tetsu was just a total asshole. An inferiority complexed asshole.
Oh yeah.
It was like there was nothing to grasp onto that created a sense of why are we doing this? Instead, it's just this is a city in a state of unrest, and that is leading to a series of events that are creating an explosive point because the city is a powder keg waiting for someone to light the fuse. Tetsu does that, but the way in which they get there is so convoluted that I didn't understand.
All right, fair enough.
I need you to explain this shit to me.
How do I begin to break this down?
Do we need another hour for a podcast?
I feel
We're
like
now in special episode territory.
I feel like we would need a whole sideshow to try to break that whole bad boy down. It's going to be the first Cinnamon commentary is Akira. The Cinnamon walkthrough. And that's what we should do. The Cinnamon walkthrough. We won't call them commentaries. We'll call them walkthroughs. Yeah, it's just fucking weird.
Yes.
Man. Yeah, as far as the why does Canada not crunch up like old girl crunches up, I don't think he was fully enveloped. Like there is something that stops the whole envelop process because then it immediately reverses back. Same with the Major. The Major doesn't get as enveloped either, but God, does he still get his deliciously. Your other reasons as to the whys inside valid criticisms and valid points. But yeah, you complained about the like the executive board and all that.
I didn't complain. I said that this is some, and I sort of get what it's going for. I'm looking for some connection.
I think that speaks to the unrest of every possible level. It's not just the people down in the streets that's unhappy with how things are going. It's also people in government that aren't happy with things in government. And that one scene that you get with, I was never expecting in a crazy, wild, weird anime sci-fi movie to get a scene about the government arguing about budgets and balancing numbers and stuff like that. But it shows you that the government isn't just disconnected from the people, they're also disconnected from each other, which furthers the public's unrest. Well, they can't come to any cohesion.
And it's that thing of in order to protect the people, we need to contain these potential threats. But where are we going to get the fucking money? And then it becomes, you're fucked. We have to get rid of you because you cost too much, which deals with the challenge of bureaucracy. I dug that. I had no problem with that. I mean, even the colonel towards the end of the movie being like, fuck you guys, kill them. Like, he's got bigger fish to fry. He's trying to save the city, and some of them are more worried about how to pay for it. I get that, and I had no problem with that. I enjoyed the fact that the colonel had empathy. He was trying to protect these kids. I don't know.
Well, there you have it.
I don't think we have anything. I am willing to, at some point, go back and rewatch it. I did that with Suspiria. The original. I still haven't seen the remake, or the not the remake. That's inappropriate way to describe it. The reimagination. And I much more enjoyed Suspiria the second time, having a sense of what the film was about, how it functions, so I could better appreciate what was happening, could better follow, etc. So maybe I just need to go back and watch Akira at some point. Crystal won't join me. I think she's one and done.
She's one and done. Oh man. Conversely, Leslie hadn't seen it since the early aughts, and she's like, I understand this movie so much better now that I'm older, and
Yeah.
I paid more attention to what's going on.
Yeah, and a lot of films are like that. There's films that I saw as a kid that I put on now. It's like, hey, let me see if it holds. It doesn't. It is terrible. Or other films where, like Leslie, sometimes you just need the added benefit of knowledge and experience.
There you go. There you
So
go.
maybe that's what I need with Akira. Maybe the next time we talk about it, I'll go, "Oh my god, it's amazing! I was such an idiot," or I'll go, "Yeah, it still doesn't make any fucking sense."
Yeah, I am okay with either one of those options. If you were willing to give it a revisit, that's cool with me.
I mean, it's sort of like Ghost in the Shell. I've seen that once. I was seeing the adaptation with Scarlett Johansson, and I very much would like to revisit Ghost in the Shell. I enjoyed it and would very much like to revisit it. Whereas with this one, I just didn't get that from it, which is weird because I dig anime. I
Mm-hmm.
do. I was surprised that I didn't dig on this, particularly given I like Blade Runner. I'm a huge fan of The Matrix. Stuff that this inspired, or conversely was inspired by, in some cases, I dig. I don't get why I didn't like this.
Hmm.
So from what I understand, the comic wasn't finished when he made it, or when this film was made. So
Correct.
maybe there was more stuff in the comic, and that would better flesh that out.
Explain things. Maybe. I never read the manga. I've just seen the movie.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. So maybe I need to go read the comic. You need to go read the comic, and then we need to come back to discuss it.
Maybe that's what it is. I saw someone had they had like a giant fucking coffee table version of the comic. And man, it looked great. And strangely enough, like a month ago, I was like, weather's gonna start getting cold soon. I was online shopping for the orange pill jacket that Canada wears throughout because I've been wanting that jacket for like a decade now, and I will get it one of these days. I love that jacket.
Just make sure it's not in leather, because from the front they're going to think you're Eddie Murphy.
You're right. You're right. I'll be raw and delirious while wearing that.
Delirious was purple.
Purple.
Right?
Yeah, delirious is purple. Raw is the red.
Is the red one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack that one. Anyway,
anything else
this
before
was
we
an
wrap this?
extra bonus episode, extra long,
Extra
because
long. Man. You got a
we
couple
needed
extra
to
minutes.
discuss Akira. What was that?
Yeah, so you got a couple extra minutes out of us.
Hopefully, if you're watching this, you've seen Akira. If you enjoyed it, you're going, "What is wrong with Douglas?" And if you didn't enjoy it, then hopefully you're not being so hard on Daryl.
Yeah,
he knows
Doug's got some
knows.
salient points.
I don't know if they were salient.
They were points.
They were points.
You got
All
anything else
right.
before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, man, no. Got the usual reviews coming down. Things go on track. We're going to be averaging about 4 reviews a week until I hit my personal hiatus around the time Tenet comes out on home video on the 15th of December.
Yes, I am all ready for that.
My hiatus?
I meant Tenet, but you enjoy your hiatus as well, sir.
I won't be sleeping. New baby.
That's right. That's
But,
right.
Yeah, no. Other than that, got nothing worth mentioning.
All right, right on. Well, we will be back soon. Couple weeks with the new episode. New
Sounds
tasty
like
bit
fun.
of cinnamon for you. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.
Later.